for joining us today. It is noon, so we'll get started. And if anybody else joins us as we're going along, that's fine as well. So welcome to our DLDE Tech Talk. Today we're exploring Nearpod. If you haven't used Nearpod before, Nearpod is a really nice resource for creating interactive lessons that you can use with your students in an in-person classroom. You can use it in a remote setting. And it's also, different instructors have used it to submit asynchronous, like supplemental distance lessons as well, lessons that their students can do, kind of on their own time and at their own pace. So it's a pretty robust tool, and I'm excited to show it to you and hope that you get the chance to, find some ways that you can apply it in your own classroom. My name is Sarah Weitzel. I work for the Digital Literacy and Distance Education Project. And two of my colleagues, Sue Wilt and Bethany Lazanik, are here as well today. They will be helping out in the second half of today's webinar, where you as the participants will get a chance to log into Nearpod and try using some of the activities. So Bethany or Sue, did you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Bethany Lazanik. I'm the coordinator of the Digital Literacy and Distance Education Project. I think I recognize most of you. Katie, I'm not sure if we've ever met, though, so it's nice to meet you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sue Wilt, and I'm a team member for DLDE. Primarily work with evaluating the different resources for the approved curriculum, but tend to do some other tasks too. And welcome everyone. Hope you enjoy the presentation.
All right. So we have, again, thank you for joining us today. We just have a short hour together. So what our hope is that by the end of this hour, that you'll have the chance not only to explore at least one Nearpod activity type. I'll be showing you later how there are many Nearpod activities, but they're broken down into different categories. So you'll get to explore one of those categories. And as you're doing that, our hope is that you'll eventually be able to describe how you could even use that activity type within your own classroom. I am curious, has anybody here, any of the participants, have you used Nearpod before? What's your experience level?
I've never used it.
Okay. And that's fine. This is starting from the beginning. It is fine with this presentation. Thanks, Teresa.
I've also not used it before.
Okay. All right. So I have a little demo planned. Before you have to use it, I'll show you several of the features. So this is a good place to start. And Allison, do you have any experience with Nearpod?
I don't really. I know a little bit about it from K through 12, but I don't know. I haven't experienced it at all in the adult education setting.
Okay, great. So, since we're starting mostly at a beginning level here, as I'm going through my demo, stop me if you have a question or if anything comes up, just feel free to unmute and let me know. So in order to meet our objective today, here's kind of what you can expect out of this hour-long session. We have it kind of broken up into rough thirds. So for the first 20 minutes or so, it might go a little bit longer. I do want to give you a Nearpod demo. I'll show you kind of like the main features of Nearpod and how you can use those. And then we'll have opportunities for you to explore the different Nearpod activity types. Again, you'll get, roughly 20 minutes or so to work on that. And then depending on how much time we have left at the end of the presentation, I would like to give you the chance to ask some questions. And, to the best of my ability, I'll give you my answers. So during the demo, just a couple things for you to expect. There are just a couple things you can watch. First of all, I'll show you the Nearpod dashboard. This is kind of like the main hub where most of the Nearpod activity takes place. So I'll show you the general layout of the dashboard and how it works. At some point in the demo, we'll get a chance to look at reports. One of the nice features about Nearpod is that it keeps track of how your students are interacting with the Nearpod lessons you've created. So, for example, if I were to present a lesson today, I could log in on another day, find today's date, and get a pretty robust report on how my students answered questions and did the interactions. So it's a nice tool for assessment. I'll also show you the 4 broad categories, the different Nearpod activity types. After that demo, we'll go into breakout rooms. And you'll have chances to look at the activity types that are interesting to you. So before I bring up Nearpod, I'm going to do that in just a minute. I've mentioned a couple times that there are different categories for activity types, and those are the 4 that I have here. So Nearpod offers several different types of activities you can create. Some of them fit into the create category. Under the create category, you can use different layouts to present instructional information to your students. So the create category is a little bit more for instructors than students. There's not so much student interaction, but it gives you a way to present information to your students. There's the quizzes and games category. In my experience, this is one of the most popular categories with Nearpod. There are several different ways that you can, quiz your students to assess their understanding, from familiar formats like multiple choice quizzes to fill in the blank activities, drawing activities, and even there's like a kind of competitive timed quiz called Time to Climb. With the interactive category, you can have your students explore topics through a variety of different means. So you can add videos that are embedded with questions, you can share web content, and there are also some simulations and 3D models that you can use as well as they're relevant to your lessons. Finally, there's the discussions category. And again, I'm going to show you all of these in more detail when we get into Nearpod. But discussions is one category that I especially like. You can have your students collaborate on like a sticky note board. You can poll your students to get their opinions, or you can have them submit written or like voice recorded feedback for your questions. So 4 broad categories. I think what I'd like to do at this point is open up Nearpod and show you what it looks like. Before I do that, are there at this point any questions? Nope. All right. So just one moment while I open up a new share. I'm going to take us to Nearpod. All right, so what I'm showing you right now is what we call Nearpod's dashboard. Now, we're down to 2 participants, Teresa or Allison. Have either of you created a Nearpod account? And it's okay if you haven't, but I'm just curious, do you have a Nearpod account?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't either.
Okay, great. So probably one of the things that we'll do today, as we have time, I'll probably encourage you, if we have the time, to go ahead and create a free Nearpod account, just so that after we're done with our demo, you can go into your account and start creating some activities of your own. But just as a nice little preview, so this page right here, this is the page that you're automatically directed to whenever you log into your Nearpod account. There are both free and paid options with Nearpod. With the free option, there's a limit on how much data you have to store lessons and activities. In my experience, I use the free account. That data storage has been sufficient. But if you want to go above the kind of the free limit they've set, they do have paid accounts as well. But so at any rate, whenever you log in, whether you have a free or paid account, it takes you to this main dashboard. So you'll see this kind of main section of the page with the white background. What you find here there are 2 important features. One is you can find activities or lessons that you have already saved or created. So I have just 2 lessons here. These are lessons that I've shared with my students in my classroom. And so if I would ever want to use those lessons again, I can find them right here and share them with my students. We'll go over sharing in a moment. You can also create new lessons from this main section of the Nearpod dashboard. So again, in a moment, I'm going to actually walk you through the creation of a lesson. It's user-friendly and simple, and I'll walk you through the steps. But to do that, you would just click on the Create a Lesson button. Now, before we create a lesson together, I would also like to point out that on the Nearpod dashboard, another important feature is over here on this left-hand side, we can see this menu with kind of the dark gray background. There are just a couple features that I'd like to point out there. One is the Nearpod library. Let me open that up. It's been a little while since I've looked at it, but the Nearpod library has lots and lots of different content. So there are pre-created lessons and activities that you can look through and select if you find that they match the needs of your classroom. You can search by subject. You can search by publishers. There are some digital literacy lessons from Common Sense Education. There are several different ways you can filter to find content to match the needs of your classroom and of your students. On the left-hand side, I'm going to click here on My Lessons. It'll just take me back to the dashboard. There's also a reports section. I'll show you a little bit later in the demo after we go through a lesson how you can go to the reports section and get feedback on how your students interacted with the activities in your lesson. And then you'll also notice there are a couple items with like this kind of little shield symbol and the star. Those are, unfortunately, those are for a paid account. So if you have the free account, things like lesson plans for subs, a little bit more, focused on the K through 12 setting, or different programs focused on math, English language learners, and social studies. Those things they're behind a paywall. But again, in my experience, even with the free account, I've been able to create plenty of lessons and activities to meet my students' needs. So let's go ahead and create a lesson. So to do that, I just click this Create a Lesson button. I'm going to temporarily close this menu. And what it does is it takes me to this kind of like this lesson creation page. So on this page, I can just give my lesson a title. I'm going to call this one a Nearpod demonstration. And at this point, if I wanted to share this with my students, they wouldn't be able to see anything. So I want to add content and activities as I'm creating just my little sample lesson here to use with the students. So I click Add Content and Activities. And this little menu pops up. So the first thing I'd like to point out is that, again, Nearpod does break their activities into different categories. So the first category you'll see is the Create category. There are 8 different ways that you can present information to your students using the Create category. So you could, if you wanted to share some audio with your students, you could just select the audio option. You can upload files or record on Nearpod. You can share pictures and images, or even if you have a PowerPoint that's already made for your lessons and what you'd like to do is add some interactive activities into the PowerPoint, you can upload an existing PowerPoint and then from there add extra activities. So there are, several different ways that you can create and present information to your students. Whenever you click on a particular item, you might notice over here on the sidebar, it just gives you a little preview of what that item is and how it functions. So for our purposes today, this little demo activity I'm making, I'm going to keep it really simple. So I'll just go to Slides. And it opens up like a pretty standard slide format. So here, I'm considering like what title do I want to give my lesson? I can add that information here. These slides do offer, different features similar to what you see in other slide softwares like Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Slides. So, I'm just going to add, I don't know, a little bit of background color just to make it a little bit more interesting. And these are things that you can play with. You can add images. You can change the slide layouts as you present information to your students. So I'm just going to click Save. And it will save that slide I've created. You can see it's saving right here. So I've added some information for my students to see what the lesson is about. Now let's add some content. Let's add some stuff that they can interact with. So the next category is the interactive category. This is one of the categories that if you'd like to explore further in the breakout rooms, you're definitely welcome to. Under the interactive category, you can select videos. You can upload a video of your own, or you can link to a YouTube video, or even look through Nearpod's content library. But when you find a video that has content that matches your lesson, you can include that. But beyond just including the video itself, you can also embed questions, open-ended questions or multiple choice, so that you can check your students' understanding as they're watching the video. You're able to share web content, videos specifically from the BBC. There are Nearpod 3D models. I'll show you those in just a minute. There are different PhET simulations for different math and science simulations, so that the students can kind of see those math or science concepts in action. And then there's also a feature called VR field trips. If you're lucky enough to have virtual reality headsets in your classroom, first of all, that would be amazing if you did. But if you do, you can kind of let your students kind of engage in a field trip through various locations. But just for our demo, I'm going to choose Nearpod 3D. There are several different items that you can select from. These are just the staff picks, some of the most popular ones. But if we imagine perhaps we were teaching a science lesson on the cardiovascular system, you could add a 3D model that your students can manipulate and move around as they want to look more closely at this 3D model. So that's broadly the interactive activities in Nearpod. Now let me go ahead. I'll show you quizzes and games as well, because that is, as I mentioned, one of the most popular categories. So quizzes can start with something familiar like multiple choice quizzes. There's a draw it feature, which if you decide you want to look at quizzes and games, I encourage you to check out Draw It. That one's pretty interesting. Basically, the instructor saves an image and the students can annotate or show their work through the Draw It feature. We have fill in the blank, matching pairs, and this one called Time to Climb. This one, I have mixed feelings about using it with adult learners. It can be fun because it adds kind of an element of competition to your multiple choice quizzes, but it's very cartoonish and they're kind of childlike features. So you know your students better than anyone else here. You would know if that would work for your students or not. But I'm going to add a quiz. So I add my question. This is a pretty standard multiple choice quiz layout. Does Nearpod offer free accounts? I give my answer options, and I can save that. All right, so just because I want to cover the 4 content categories, I'll also show you the very last one, which is discussions. With discussions, this is a way to kind of get your students speaking and interacting with each other. So there's a collaborate board. Basically, students can add sticky notes to the virtual board as they're sharing their ideas in a brainstorm session. You can connect to a Flipgrid board. I'm not personally very familiar with Flipgrid, but if you are, I'd encourage you to check this one out and let me know how it works with Nearpod. You can poll your students to get their opinions, and you can also ask open-ended questions. So I'll just select open-ended questions. I'll ask my question here. How could you use Nearpod in your classroom? And then there are 2 options with Nearpod. So when I share this with my students, they'll see this question. They can give me a written response, or if I enable it, they can also give a verbal response. They can record their answer. So if you find that that would be useful with your students, you can do that. So, we've added one activity type from each of the 4 categories. As you're working on your lessons, if you find that you want a different order for your activities, you can just drag and drop to move items. If you find that maybe you think, I'm not sure the 3D model works for this particular lesson, you can even just delete. And so, it's pretty easy to navigate through and adjust your lessons. So I'll click Save and Exit. And what we've done at this point is we've created just a really short sample Nearpod lesson. So what I'd like us to do, that's a quick demo on like how you can go into Nearpod and how you can create activities. Before I kind of hand the reins over to you and let you start creating your own Nearpod activity, the last thing I want to do is I want to show you how you could share this lesson with your own students, because that's really what it's about, is creating those lessons to share. So you have two options with your lessons about how you share with your students. So if you just hover your mouse over the lesson, the first option is live participation. That's the one that I'm going to set up in just a minute. In live participation, the teacher shares the activity with the students, and the teacher kind of sets the pace. The teacher moves through each activity and works with the students as they go through each activity in the lesson. There is a student-paced option as well. With student-paced, again, you'll click student-paced, you'll share this lesson with your students, and they can access it like on their own time. Whenever they're free and able to do this lesson, they can log in, complete the lesson, and they move through each individual activity at their own pace. So that's kind of the main difference there with live participation and student-paced. But for our purposes, I want to go for live participation. So I just click that little button and a new menu will appear. Now, there are several ways that I can share this activity with my students. You can have students go to join.nearpod.com and enter this code. You can email a link to the students. You can integrate it into Google Classroom. There are several different options there, but my personal favorite is I just like to copy the link. So I copy the link and then I share that link with my students. So that's actually what I'm going to do next. I'm going to put this link in the chat. And what I would ask is that once the link shows up in the chat, if you could please click it, it's going to direct you to this Nearpod lesson. And so you can see what this lesson looks like from the student perspective. I'll send the link and we'll do this little mini lesson together. So that link is in the chat right now. Does anybody have any questions about how we're going to move forward? No? All right, so the link is in the chat. Please go ahead and click that link and it'll direct you to our activity. All right. So I see I have 3 people who have logged in. Yep.
Sarah, may I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So let's say I like one of your lessons that
Mhm.
you prepared. Can
Mhm.
you share that lesson with me?
Yeah, I can, Sue. It looks like everybody logged into the lesson. So after I finish this lesson, I'll show you how you can share this lesson with other teachers.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right, so everybody's here in the lesson. So probably what you're seeing right now, it should be that first page where it says Nearpod demo. Sue, is that what you see right now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
great. So, you can see the informational page we've created. So I'm going to move us forward to our multiple choice question. Okay, great. So I'm seeing as you're answering the question, from my perspective, I'm getting feedback. I'm seeing that you're beginning to answer those questions.
What's interesting is I clicked on yes and nothing happened.
Okay.
And then it won't let me, but it went to, does Nearpod offer free accounts?
Mm-hmm.
And it won't let me go back to try to answer it.
Okay. I am getting feedback as well. So it tells me that I have 3 people have answered the question and there's 1 with no answer.
Yeah, we can actually see by name that I can see the other 3 people picked A.
Okay. All right.
Nobody picked B, but I think it's interesting that I can't use the left arrow back.
Mm-hmm. let me see. I don't know exactly how I would reset that. You know what, Sue, I that's an important question. I'd like to come back to that in a moment. But let me go ahead. Just for now, I'm going to open up the open-ended question.
Yep.
And then let's look into that, why that might not have worked in your case. All right, so I see some answers coming in.
I said that, Sarah, because I was busy trying to figure out how to get rid of a box that said I was going to let Nearpod record my audio or something. So
Mm.
it was blocking the question for me. So sorry about that.
Oh, no, sorry about that. It's probably like if you want to record, that was probably like a pop-up asking you for permission to do so first. But everyone, thank you. So I see some answers. So I'm just going to share one as an example. So it should kind of pop up. We can see Sue's answers, asking students to play math games, etc. All right. So everyone, you know, that is how Nearpod, that's what Nearpod looks like from the student perspective. So if you'd like, you can come on back to Zoom because I'll also show you what I was observing as we went through that lesson, just so you can kind of see how it works from the teacher perspective as well. So I'll give you just a moment to navigate back to Zoom. So what I can see from the teacher perspective is like here we have our open-ended question. I can see everybody's answer right here and those filled in as you were answering them. If I wanted to, if I was thinking, oh, what are my students seeing right now? I can toggle to the student view as well, just so I can see what you saw while this activity was open. I can move back and forth between activities. So I can see, you know, I can see your answers. And I also see there was that one that Sue wasn't able to answer. Sue, when we move to our breakout rooms, I'd like to look at that and see what may have happened. But yeah, that's how you create and share a Nearpod activity with your students. So I'm gonna close that activity. I'm gonna go back to the Nearpod dashboard. And at this point, does anybody have any questions? What are you thinking or wondering about as we go through this demo?
Sarah, does this work well if student is on a cell phone?
I have had success with students using it on a cell phone. Depending on the students, which cell phone they're using, I've had some students using an Android phone, and they have found the occasional limitation, like it might be a little bit slower for the activities to load up. I'm not sure if that was their phone or maybe like their Wi-Fi or data plan. But yes, overall, students can use this with their phones. Good question. Thanks, Sue.
What have you received any consistent complaint from students about difficulty of use or to the contrary, students say this is very easy to use?
I think a pretty consistent piece of feedback I get from students is that they enjoy using it, but for some at the start, you know, as they're like looking at the different activities and kind of trying to understand the layout, is it takes them a little while to catch one occasionally. So whenever I use Nearpod for the first time, I try to make sure that whatever content we're doing in the classroom. Maybe it's review so that the content itself isn't necessarily new. They can, put more energy to figuring out how to use Nearpod. Then as they become more familiar with it, we can get into like more difficult content concepts within our classroom.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
When you have this set up for your students, do they all have to go on and create their own account first? Or if you just are like on a Zoom meeting and you put things in your chat, like a link, like we were able to do, can you just do that?
Yep. So they should be able to like access any activity you create without having their own profile. So like Teresa, you said you haven't made a Nearpod account yet, right?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay. So I'm guessing it's been a little while since I logged into an activity as a student, but I'm guessing that once you clicked the link, it took you to a page where you would like put in your name.
Yep.
And yep. And then probably after you put in your name, it just led you right into the lesson. Is that correct?
Yes, it did. Yep, it came right up.
Yep. And it should be the same series of steps for your own students.
Okay.
Good question. Because I think about that as well. Like our students often have so many logins and so many places they have to go that you don't necessarily want to add a new one to the mix.
Well, and I have several students that, I have a few accounts that they could create, but I don't really, sometimes they're not going to get on and do anything except for the exact thing I want them to do. So
Okay.
sometimes it's easier if, I can specifically just give them something while we're having class or, to do.
Yeah.
Some students, I would definitely have them create an account and be able to, log in later and do some other things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, so let me show you. I did promise that I'd show you the reports. Now that we've done this activity, we can see the reports. So I just go to the reports section. We can see this lesson. If I click on the lesson itself, this is the lesson we just completed. When I click the lesson, I get a little drop-down menu with all the times that I gave this particular lesson. So hypothetically, if I had, shared this lesson before, those other dates would show up. But I can see our April 6th session. So I can see, broadly, I can see scores on the quiz. I can see who completed the open-ended question. Let's see. If I want to see what one student in particular answered, I can see, Teresa's answer to the quiz and to the open-ended question. So this can be a useful tool for formative, or maybe even depending on what you want to use Nearpod for, it could also be some summative assessment as well. Okay, so that, that kind of wraps up the demo. Those are the things that I wanted to show you before I hand it over to you and give you the chance to log into a Nearpod account and kind of play around with these activities and see how you might use them. So before we start that, does anybody have any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I was just going to let you know I have to leave in just a couple minutes, so
Ooh,
I'm
okay.
probably going to get off. But I definitely want to try to create an account and then play around and do some things. And I have your information, so I can email you and let you know how it did, or if I have run into any questions or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Questions or other feedback. If you found out that like you liked the way it works, or if there were things that didn't go as expected, I'm happy to hear any of it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna switch my share screen again, just so we can go back to our PowerPoint. So I did have the idea that we'd go into breakout rooms according to activity type, but at this point we just have, it's the four of us, and three of us are from DLDE. So I think what we can do instead is, Allison, I'd like to give you some time to, we can either have you create your own Nearpod account if you'd like to use your time that way, or if you just have questions about the activity types in general, you can, direct me, kind of have me go what you'd like to see on Nearpod, and we can go from there. So what works for you? Would you like to use some time to create a Nearpod account?
I think I'm okay too. I thought the demonstration was cool. I'm gonna play with it a little bit, and I have your information as well. So, I will definitely reach out if I have any questions as I'm playing along with it. I'm, specifically interested in like the recording for like dialogues for ESL students and
Yeah.
things like that. So I think that's going to be fun to play with. And work some stuff out with. So yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. All right. So I think in that case, I'll just hit my stop share. And there